disclose documents and witnesses that will be relied upon on the hearing. What that means, Mr. Meneses, is that 7 days before the hearing, whatever documents you're going to rely upon, whatever witnesses you're going to call, you need to provide. Is this your case, Ms. Brown?
No, it's going to be Assistant Attorney General Anthony Sello's case.
Then that means that you need to provide this information to Mr. Sello 7 days before the hearing, and you also need to provide a copy of these documents to the board. Failure on either party, on either side, to disclose the documents and witness 7 days before, unless good cause is shown, the board might prevent you from relying on those documents and witnesses that have not been disclosed. If the parties want to settle this matter, they still have an opportunity to speak and settle it outside of the hearing. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Hearing none, then this matter is adjourned. This hearing then again is scheduled for December 13th at 10:30 a.m. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. The next case on our calendar is case number 23 CMP 00058, Tokyo Pearl, license number 12112100. This case has been canceled and offering compromise has been presented to the board for its review and consideration. The next case on our calendar is case number 22 CMP 00102, The Block, license number 113549. This case has been canceled. The license was canceled, board order number 2023-600 with the consent of the government. The next case on our calendar is case number 23 CMP 00052, The Ugly Mug Dining Saloon, license number 71793. Mr. Oriana, can you please elevate the rights of the licensee in this case and whatever witnesses the government might have?
Sure. Mark Ruiz, Investigator Mark Ruiz, your access has been elevated. And I do not see the licensee. I'm going to check in the chat.
Ms. Brown, have you had any conversation with the licensee?
Oh, yes. He was responsive to our email, and then we also saw that he appeared for the status hearing.
And you have not received any information that he would not appear for this hearing today, ma'am?
That's correct.
No update in the chat, Chairman.
And this hearing was scheduled for 10:30, and it's now 11:02. All right. I'll give him a couple more minutes. I'll give him 3 more minutes. Mr. Oriana, can you please put another request in the chat, and I'll give him till 11:05.
Will do.
Thank you.
No update, Chairman.
All right, thank you. It's 11:03. I'll wait till 11:05.
Still no update, Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, is the government prepared to move forward?
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay, pursuant to DC Code Section 25447, the board has the authority to proceed ex parte where the licensee waives the hearing or fails to appear unless the hearing is extended for good and sufficient cause. The board's record reflects that the licensee was served on our about September 23rd, 2023. We did have a show cause hearing status in this case, and the licensee did appear, and it was confirmed that the show cause hearing was scheduled for today, November 15th at 10:30 a.m. It is now 11:06, and the licensee has failed to appear. Seeing no licensee here today and having no good and sufficient cause to extend the hearing, the board will proceed with the show cause hearing ex parte. All right. Does the government wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, it does.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning, board members. We are here today because the Ugly Mug, which is a Class C restaurant located at 723 8th Street Southeast in Washington, D.C., purchased alcohol from a Class A retail liquor store in violation of D.C. Code Section 25-113A5A and made a false statement during an ABCA investigation in violation of D.C. Code Section 25-823A5C. You will hear from ABCA investigator Mark Ruiz that on Wednesday, June 21st of 2023, he was assigned an online complaint, which alleged, in important part, that the owner of Ugly Mug was having liquor delivered to the establishment via Instacart. That same day, investigator Ruiz visited the Ugly Mug and inspected the establishment's liquor invoices, but found none from Instacart. The following day, investigator Ruiz spoke to establishment's owner, Gaynor Jablonski, who denied ordering or having alcohol delivered through Instacart. Later on July 5th of 2023, investigator Ruiz received records of all orders made through Instacart that were delivered to the Ugly Mug's address. And you will see those records and see with your own eyes that from October 29th, 2021 to June 21st of 2023, orders for liquor were regularly made and delivered to the establishment from Class A retail liquor stores, namely Costco and Metro Wine Spirits. You will also see that approximately 20 Costco orders were placed with Mr. Jablonski's Instacart account, including an order placed on June 20th of 2023, just one day before ABCA received the e-complaint. Investigator Ruiz's investigation and Instacart's transaction records will make it clear that Ugly Mug purchased alcohol from a Class A retail liquor store, and that Ugly Mug's owner made a false statement when he denied ordering or having alcohol delivered through Instacart? Thank you.
All right. Does the government have a witness they wish to call?
Yes, the government would like to call Investigator Mark Ruiz.
Mr. Ruiz, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your witness, ma'am.
Thank you. Investigator Ruiz, please state and spell your name for the record.
First name's Mark, M-A-R-K. Last name's Ruiz, R-U-I-Z.
And where are you currently employed?
The Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Administration.
How long have you been with ABCA?
I've been with ABCA for approximately 4 years and 9 months.
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute. Mr. Jablonski?
Yes.
Do you have a camera you can turn on, sir?
Oh, sorry about that. Yep. Right.
All right, Mr. Jablonski, this matter was scheduled for a show cause hearing at 10:30. I started the case at 11:05.
Okay.
And you were not here, and so therefore we were going to move forward without you being here. The government. So since you are here, then I need to give you an opportunity. Did you hear the government's opening statement, sir, or do you wish the government to repeat her opening statement? And so let me hold on 1 minute. Do you wish? Did you hear the government's opening statement, or do you want the government to repeat her opening statement, and then do you wish to make an opening statement, sir?
Yes. Sorry, I signed on at 10:30 and I waited till about 10:45. I didn't see the notice, so I signed off and I signed back in. I think I caught the end of the statement. So if it wouldn't be too much of a problem, I would like to hear the opening statement again, please.
All right, then, Ms. Brown. Then, all right. So since Mr. Jablonski, I did provide a notice to the public that we were delayed in moving. So at 10:30, you should have the public receive a notice that we were going to start at 10:40. And at 10:40, the public received another notice that we were going to start at 10:50. So although the board was delayed in starting the case today, there was a notice that was placed by IT specialists to inform the public that we were delayed in starting this morning, sir. So I'm not sure why you thought it was prudent to log off, because once you were aware that you knew that this matter was scheduled for 10:30 hearing, sir. However, Ms. Brown, if you don't mind, to repeat your opening statement, and then I'll give you an opportunity, sir, to make an opening statement if you so desire. Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. We are here today because the Ugly Mug, which is a Class C restaurant located at 723 8th Street Southeast, purchased alcohol from a Class A retail liquor store in violation of DC Code 25-113A5A and made a false statement during an ABCA investigation in violation of DC Code 25-823A5C. You will hear from ABCA investigator Mark Ruiz that on Wednesday, June 21, 2023, he was assigned an online complaint, which alleged, in important part, that the owner of the Ugly Mug was having liquor delivered to the establishment via Instacart. That day, investigator Ruiz visited the Ugly Mug and inspected the establishment's liquor invoices, but found none from Instacart. The following day, investigator Ruiz spoke to the establishment's owner, Gaynor Jablonski, who denied ordering or having alcohol delivered through Instacart. On July 5 of 2023, investigator Ruiz received records of all orders made through Instacart that were delivered to the Ugly Mug's address. you will see those records and see with your own eyes that from October 29th of 2021 to June 21st of 2023, orders for liquor were regularly made and delivered to the establishment from Class A retail liquor stores, namely Costco and Metro Wine and Spirits. You will also see that approximately 20 Costco orders were placed with Mr. Jablonski's Instacart account, including an order placed on June 20th, 2023, just one day before ABCA received the e-complaint. Investigator Ruiz's investigation and Instacart's transaction records will make it clear that Ugly Mug purchased alcohol from Class A retail liquor stores and that Ugly Mug's owner made a false statement when he denied ordering or having alcohol delivered through Instacart. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jablonski, do you wish to make an opening statement at this juncture, or do you wish to defer until you present your case, sir?
Defer to present my case. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Miss Brown, Mr. Ruiz, you're already under oath, so you can resume your questioning, ma'am.
Okay, and to be clear, Chairperson Anderson, do you want me to start from the beginning, or do you want me to pick up from where I was in my questioning?
You can pick up from where you were because Mr. Jablonski was on the line, so you can pick up from where you were, ma'am.
Thank you. Investigator Ruiz, what are your duties and responsibilities as an investigator for ABCA?
To conduct inspections and investigations pertaining to licensed alcoholic establishments throughout the District of Columbia.
Hold on 1 minute, please. Mr. Jablonski, you need to be on the line because I need to make sure I can see you. So I see that I'm not seeing your picture, sir, so I don't know if you're on the line. And I need to have you need to be on screen because I need to make sure that you're here for the duration of the hearing, sir, okay? All right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Investigator Ruiz, are you familiar with an establishment named The Ugly Mug?
I am, yes.
And how are you familiar with this establishment?
I was assigned an e-complaint back in June 2023, alleging multiple allegations.
Did you create a case report for your investigation into the e-complaint?
I did.
Okay. Now, showing Investigator Ruiz what has been marked as Government Exhibit Number 1. Okay. Are you able to see that, Investigator Ruiz?
I am, yes.
Okay. Now, what is this document?
This document is a case report that I drafted for this case.
And why did you create this report?
To document the activity as well as the violations of purchasing from the Class A and a false statement.
And directing your attention to the details portion of your report on page 1, what did the e-complaint allege?
I didn't hear your question.
Directing your attention to the details portion of your report on page 1 of your report, what did the e-complaint allege?
The e-complaint alleged that the establishment was operating with no ABC manager on duty, selling to intoxicated persons, minors, allowing underage children to work in the kitchen as a prep cook, as well as ordering liquor that was delivered through Instacart.
What did you do to investigate the e-complaint?
I made a visit to the establishment later that evening after receiving the complaint. to meet with establishment management and staff and to discuss to see if any of these conditions were currently being done.
Did you find anything at that time that substantiated the e-complaint?
The only so all the allegations I did not find. There was an ABC manager that was on duty. There were no minors visibly present within the establishment being served or consuming alcohol. As well as I did not notice any children within the establishment as well. And then I reviewed, asked the ABC manager on duty to review books and records. I reviewed various invoices. I didn't notice, I asked about Instacart. The ABC manager was unfamiliar with any Instacart invoices, and what was available to me at the time, I did not also see any Instacart invoices or receipts.
And on that day, did the ABC manager provide you any additional information, specifically contact information for any individuals?
Yeah, I had requested for Mr. Jablonski's, the owner's information so I could follow up with him on the complaint and the information.
Was there anything else that you did on June 21st to further investigate the e-complaint?
Yeah, so while investigating, I then completed an inquiry with the Instacart service for any transactions pertaining to 723 8th Street Southeast, the establishment to the establishment. That included alcohol in the transactions.
Okay. The following day, what, if anything, did you do to further investigate the e-complaint?
Following day, I had a telephone conversation with the owner, identified as Mr. Gaynor Jablonski. Regarding the complaint received, he stated to me after I told him what the complaint was about, and he was able to recall a recently fired, I believe, bartender from the establishment that conducted damage and stole the bank money from behind the bar and stuffing toilets with paper towels. And then I asked him about the Instacart transactions with alcohol. He stated sometimes he cannot get certain sizes through the wholesalers, so he usually makes do with what they have. And when I asked him if he actually used Instacart to have deliveries made, he stated, "No, I don't."
Okay. So after your conversation with Mr. Jablonski, was there anything further that you did to investigate the e-complaint? As it relates to the Instacart.
So about July 5th, 2000, on July 5th, 2023, I did receive email from Instacart, including the transactions that I had requested through the inquiry, in which they provided me with a spreadsheet that detailed several various orders to that address, including alcohol in the transactions.
Now showing you what is Exhibit 1 of your report. Is this the spreadsheet to which you just referred?
That is. Could you just zoom in just a little bit more? Another click or two? That's it. That's good.
Yeah.
Right there. Perfect.
Now, what did you discover from reviewing this document?
I discovered various alcohol products delivered between roughly 2021 up until my request on June 21st, 2023. with other retailers, namely Costco and Metro Wine and Spirits, of deliveries and the individuals who received the deliveries as well at the establishment.
And from this spreadsheet that you received from Instacart, could you tell who purchased the alcohol from Costco and Metro Wine and Spirits?
Yeah, based off the spreadsheet, Instacart informed me that the recipients and the purchases are on the spreadsheet, and in the recipient line, you'll find the individuals that were involved.
Okay. And based on this spreadsheet, could you tell whether Mr. Jablonski had purchased alcohol from Instacart, through Instacart from Costco?
Yes, according to the spreadsheet, Mr. Jablonski did make those purchases, and they were received.
Now directing your attention to the third transaction line of this document. Which retailer did Mr. Jablonski purchase alcohol from?
Costco.
And what class license does Costco have?
A Class A retail store.
And what class license does the Ugly Mug possess? I'll direct your attention to page 1 of your report for that
It's
information.
a Class CR restaurant.
Okay. And is the Ugly Mug allowed to purchase alcohol from a Class A retailer?
Only during holidays and on weekends when wholesalers are closed, and for only emergencies, whether they run out of something while operating during those times.
And so directing your attention back to the spreadsheet, which is Exhibit 1 of your report, how recently had liquor been delivered to Ugly Mug? I can zoom in again.
At the time of the investigation, it was delivered up until that day of the request.
And what day of the week was that?
I believe it was Wednesday.
And what time of day was the order placed?
It was delivered at 11:08 a.m.
And was Wednesday, June 21st, 2023, a holiday?
No, it was not.
Are wholesale liquor stores generally open at 11:08 a.m. on Wednesdays in Washington, D.C.?
Typically, yes.
You testified earlier that Mr. Jablonski had denied ordering alcohol through Instacart. Now, based on this Instacart spreadsheet, was that statement correct?
No.
Did you provide a response?
Yes, I said no.
Thank you. And why do you believe that statement was false?
According to the spreadsheet of purchases and deliveries made from Instacart, Mr. Gaynor Jablonski is listed as a recipient throughout the spreadsheet.
And when was the last time, based on this spreadsheet, that Mr. Jablonski had purchased alcohol from Costco?
June 20th, 2023.
And what day of the week was June 20th of 2023?
That was a Tuesday.
And what time of day did Mr. Jablonski place that Instacart order?
Received a delivery 4:38 p.m., so prior to that.
Was Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 a holiday?
No.
Are wholesale liquor stores generally open at 4:38 p.m. on Tuesdays in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, generally they are, yes.
And now directing your attention back to page 2 of your report. Based on your review of the Instacart spreadsheet, how many of the alcohol purchases were placed on weekdays during hours when wholesalers were open for business?
I don't recall how many, but a majority of the spreadsheet was conducted throughout during the week, not on weekends.
Thank you. And directing your attention just one more time back to the spreadsheet. What was the user ID number for the account associated with Mr. Jablonski?
Going on a spreadsheet, user ID 642581116.
Did you do anything to confirm that that account number was in fact connected to Mr. Jablonski?
Yeah, I did confirm with Instacart that account did belong with Mr. Jablonski. Yes.
How were you able to determine from Instacart that that account was connected to Mr. Jablonski?
Instacart provided the account as well as contact information that was included with the account profile, which did include an email address and a phone number. The email address on file was gaynarj at believe districtrg.com is the email address, and the phone number being 703-928-3225. Also reflects the same contact information that we have on file with our licensee records.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, hold on, please. Mr. Jablonski, do you have any questions for the witness?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Detective West, do you remember having a conversation also after I said no, I don't, when I explained that the distributors were having a lot of issues delivering on the days of the week that they assigned us to, and we don't have sales reps, so we're not able to bring things to us, and that the distributors had actually just told us you're gonna have to go out and buy it because sometimes they just don't have things?
I do recall you mentioning that as well, yes.
Okay. So why wasn't that put in the report?
I didn't find it relevant at the time with my case.
Make your
So you
computer
didn't-
easier to use. Windows
I'm sorry.
will scan this list.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can
Like,
you
was that somebody else talking?
I don't know what's going on, Mr. Jablonski, but go ahead, sir.
Okay. Okay,
Alright.
sorry about that. So I'm sorry, but Inspector West, how would that not be relevant to the situation? Because if you're familiar with the code 25-113A5B, it clearly states that I'm allowed to buy in the event when they're closed or a holiday. And if a distributor says to me, in this system that we have, where you guys have created a monopoly, where there's only one distributor that will carry one product, if they tell me that they don't have something, isn't it in effect closed to me? So therefore I have to go find the product somewhere else?
No, I don't believe that.
So then how am I supposed to get Jameson when Republic National doesn't have it in stock, but all the liquor stores do and other restaurants do, and I have customers that come to drink it specifically?
Objection.
What's-
Investigator
what's-
Ruiz does not speak for ABCA.
No, I'm just, that's fine, objection, but then how this gets to an operational side of this, where if you notice, Detective Ruiz, that the time that I started buying things from these other distributors, which you and I had talked about because you had inspected me before, previously, I believe it was in 2022, and I explained to you then that this is the situation that I'm in. The distributors don't have sales reps to bring me things. They're not allowing will call pickups. I do order from them regularly, as you saw with the receipts, but there are certain products that I have to have.
Objection.
What's the nature of the objection, ma'am?
What's your question for?
The question. Well, hold on. I think he wasn't done asking this question.
No, I wasn't.
So why didn't you allow him to ask this question, and then if you want to raise the objection, raise the objection. And I think maybe it's Mr. Jablonski's because it appears you're having a conversation rather than having a question.
All right.
So please frame it and ask the question, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize. Inspector Rez, are you familiar with code 25-113 A5B?
Would that be the
exception in the rule?
for
Statute.
holidays?
Holiday
Holidays
statute.
are closed. Yes.
In your opinion, if a distributor that I have to buy from does not have a product because they're out of stock, or they just simply don't deliver it because they don't have a van that day or a truck that day, and they tell me, distributor, well, you're just gonna have to go buy it somewhere else, wouldn't that in effect say that that distributor was closed?
You would have.
Objection.
Hold on. What's the nature of the objection?
Investigator Ruiz doesn't speak for ABCA. The question that is being posed is a conclusion of law that should be determined by the board.
I'm sorry, Commissioner. This is an investigator who's enforcing the laws. He should know what this law is. And if he's using this and saying that I couldn't do it then, I'm asking him then, in that situation, how is that not effectively a closure of the distributor?
I'm going to overrule the objection, but if Mr. Ruiz, if you can answer the question to the best of your ability, you answer the question and let's move on.
Yeah, that's all I want, to the best of his ability.
I would say we'd have to locate another wholesaler that distributes that product.
So, Inspector Rose, do you understand that in the model that we have in DC, distributors do not share the same products and only one distributor controls one product? There's no distributor that sells 2 Miller Lights. There's only one. There's no two distributors that sell Maker's Mark or Jameson or anything. So how am I supposed to do that?
Not sure.
Okay. Going to the Instacart. Are you familiar? Did you talk to Instacart about how that I set up an account that was there, correct?
Through email, it was apparent that you did
Right.
set up an account. Yes.
Would you say it's reasonable that a manager of mine could have the access to that account? Because we use Instacart a lot for other things when my food distributors don't have certain things in stock.
Objection.
What's the nature of the objection?
Inappropriate opinion testimony.
Well, I would.
Hold on. Want to say something, Mr. Jablonski?
I was going to say, because the second part of that question is on that sheet, there's also another person's name on that sheet named James Richards. He is my manager. So he handles the inventory and ordering. So my question is how does he know it was me that ordered it and not James?
I'm going to overrule the objection. If the witness can answer the question, then he can answer the question.
I base it off of the spreadsheet and you being the owner with the control of the establishment's ordering process.
I own the establishment and I set up an Instacart account. So when you say that since there's a whole bunch of other names on that list, that other people could use my account to order. That's the only question I have. Yeah. So then in other words, when I said, no, I don't order it, I was being truthful.
Possible.
Okay, possibly. Thank you. All right, so last question I have. Since you are investigating and enforcing this law, did you see any, when you inspected my invoices, did you see any alcohol that wasn't there on the invoices that you could prove was delivered from someplace other than the distributors?
I took a visual inspection and conducted an inventory to match up with the invoices. Just verify the invoices of where you were purchasing alcohol from. That was available to me in the records.
So you're not sure actually what was ordered and what was there, and you're not sure if it was actually used in the restaurant or if my manager ordered it and took it home.
Yeah, I can't say that.
I have no other further questions.
Any questions by any board members? While the board members think about it, Mr. Jablonski, are you responsible for the actions of one of any of your employees, sir?
Yes, I am responsible for them.
And so if a question is asked, so would you attribute so if your manager purchased alcohol, wouldn't that be attributable to a purchase for you, sir?
Yes. So, but there's 2 points that I'd like to make. Number one, I did not make a false statement when I said, no, I don't. And then I went on to explain why we sometimes have to order things from that. So if my manager is doing it, he's doing it out of a necessity.
All right. So what products it is that you're ordering from specifically? What specific products are you ordering from Instacart or Costco? Specifically, what are
It's only so the only time that my managers have ever ordered is in one of these 2 situations. Number one,
hold on,
the
sir.
strip-
Hold on. That's not the question I ask you, sir. The question I ask you.
well, I can't answer that question, sir, without explaining why they're ordering it, because it's not always the same thing. It's all dependent upon what the distributor delivers or whether the distributor delivers or not.
Arthur, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
what I'm trying to explain is that, like I explained, and Investigator Rios didn't understand, is that there is a monopoly set up by the distributorships in DC and products. So one product is owned by one distributor. If that distributor decides not to deliver or can't deliver or is out of stock, they just basically say sorry. So I only order the things that are the absolute necessities that I need for the most popular items.
Objection.
Well, he's given an answer, and I'm still waiting for.
Me answering a question.
Hold on, Miss Brown. I'm
So
asking.
the problem is
Go ahead, ma'am.
what Chairperson Anderson, it's an important objection because he's not sworn in because he's not the witness. So you're asking the incorrect person the questions who's not sworn in. So his testimony isn't appropriate this time because of that.
Well, this is cross-examination. Hold on. No, sir. It's I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right.
I can't call myself as a witness.
Hold on, Mr. Jablonski. Ms. Brown, thank you very much. I need to ask questions of. So I think I jumped ahead of myself, and ma'am, and thank you for bringing me back to reality. The questions that the board members have are questions of Mr. Ruiz. I apologize that I'm not sure why it is that I decide to ask questions of Mr. Jablonski. The questions are being asked of Mr. Ruiz. So I apologize for that. So my line of questioning is inappropriate, and the answers that were provided will not be considered by the board in any decision that was made. So I stand corrected. All right. So the question, Yes, Mr. Grant. You have a question you want to ask?
I
Of
do.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yes, Mr. Ruiz. I have two.
Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ruiz.
Good morning.
Two questions for you. I was taking notes while you were giving your testimony. You stated that when you did the investigation of the invoices and receipts, you didn't see Instacart receipts at all. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, I didn't notice any receipts or delivery slips relating to Instacart. And asking the manager that was on duty at the time, he stated he was unfamiliar with them having any Instacart deliveries.
Just as a follow-up for that, before my second question, in the event that there were purchases made from Instacart for the business, they would be mandated to have those on site, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. My second question is it common for licensees to notify the agency if there is a trend of inability to make purchases from distributors?
That I do not know.
Okay. That's all, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Ruiz, are you able to tell us specifically what products were purchased?
Various products, including whiskey
but
and tequila.
but
I
if
don't
you're
know every product. No,
no, I'm
not
sorry.
off the top of my head.
No, I'm sorry. From the receipts that you receive from Instacart, does that provide you the names of the product that were purchased?
Yes, the spreadsheet does
Alright.
detail each product.
All right, so can let's go back to the spreadsheet. So Ms. Brown, can you share your screen with the spreadsheet? And I need to find out the products that were purchased. So can you highlight I'm sorry. All right, so on can you enlarge the screen because I want to also get the date too. So for the record, can you tell what product was purchased on June 21st at 11:08?
There was VS Cognac and triple sec 48 proof liquor.
And what day of the week was June 21st?
A Wednesday.
And I see that there's also purchase on June 20th. What is it that was purchased on June 20th?
Another triple sec 48 proof liquor and another VS Cognac.
What about June 13th? What is that was purchased?
Original Irish whiskey, 1.75 liter, 80 proof.
May 28th.
May 28th was Blanco tequila, party size, and 2 vodkas.
Do we know what type of, is it just vodka or is there more information about the brand of vodka that was purchased?
Just vodka.
And what day of the week was May 28th?
I would have to look that up. I don't recall.
Can you tell me, look at a calendar and tell me what day of the week was May 28th, sir?
Yes. May 28th was actually a Sunday.
All right. What about hold on. All right. What about June 15th? I'm sorry, not June. I'm sorry. March 15th. What day of the week was that?
Wednesday.
And what product was bought on that date?
Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey and original Irish whiskey, 1.75 liter, 80 proof. Also vodka and triple distilled Irish whiskey.
All right, fine. All right, thank you. You can close your screen. All right. Let's see. I don't have any other questions for this witness. Any other questions by any other board members? All right, Mr. Jablonski, any question of the witness based on the questions that was asked by the board?
I actually do have one question for Mr. Ruiz. Did you go through this report and see which orders were placed on weekends or holidays versus non-weekend or holidays?
Yeah, at the time of receiving the report, I did review it, review the days of the week. There's a majority was conducted between Monday through Friday, with a few dates occurring on the weekends.
When you say a few dates, what is your number of a few dates?
I don't have an exact number.
Okay, that was my only question.
Ms. Brown, any redirect?
Yes, a brief redirect. Investigator Ruiz, when you conducted your investigation and spoke to Mr. Jablonski, were you asking him about just his own purchases of liquor through Instacart, or were you speaking to him regarding the establishment's purchases through Instacart?
My question was regarding the establishment's purchases, yes.
And one more question. How many instances does it take for a violation to occur? How many instances of ordering from a Class A retailer?
There's no set number of instances. One would be good enough.
So even one instance?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ruiz, for your testimony. Does the government have another witness?
No, it does not. The government rests.
Thank you. Mr. Jablonski, do you have a witness, sir, or are you the main witness for your case?
Just me.
Can you raise your right hand, please, sir? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, so you can present your case, sir.
So, thank you, and I apologize for being late again and wasting anyone's time. My case is very short and very sweet. And Inspector Ruiz highlighted something that I don't know if everyone on the board understands. The way the distributorship model is set in DC, there is a product that is assigned to a private distributorship, and then as a vendor of mine, you have to negotiate with them to get delivery dates and those kind of things. Since the pandemic, the distributorships have lost more than half of their sales reps. Most distributorships make you put in orders online. And on top of that, they have very, very, very few staff in their warehouse and drivers. This is something that's happened all over the country. It's happened with every distributor too, not just liquor. However, under the system that we have here, I, as a small business owner, am stuck with dealing with a distributor, and I am completely and utterly beholden to whether or not they want to deliver to me or can deliver to me or even have what I want in stock. As you can see by the Instacart and the communications I've had numerous times with Mr. Ruiz, I've explained to him, I don't want to do this. And most importantly, the reason why I don't want to do this is because I pay sales tax on the products that I buy from anyone else but my distributor. And there's no other distributor that will carry the products that I need. It's not like my food, where if somebody runs out of bacon, I can find somebody else. If somebody tells me they can't bring me Maker's Mark or Jameson or Triple Sec or tequila or vodka, what do I tell my customers? You know what they do? They walk in the door and they turn around and walk right back out because somebody else down the street might have it. So when I am stuck in this situation of having to buy things, it's because of the distributor model that has been set up by ABRA, number one. Number two, at the time when I was talking to Inspector Ruiz, I explained to him that I was not buying any more liquor from Costco because I didn't want to. What I found out after the fact, and you can look at that spreadsheet, is that as time has gone on, distributors are getting a little bit better, so not having to buy as much. I did not know at the time that my manager had bought those things because those are necessary things because we sell a lot of margaritas, which you got to have tequila, triple sec to make, and we saw a lot of Hennessy and cognac on an early week crowd. On top of everything else, with this model that we have set up, if a distributor doesn't have to make numerous orders a week, they have limited everyone to one order a week.
Mr. Jablonski, are you speaking, sir? I can't hear you if you're speaking, sir.
Better? You know?
I cannot hear you.
How about now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now.
Sorry about that. My phone clicked. But as I was saying, on top of that, because the distributors are so short-staffed, because they don't have the ability to deliver properly, they give you 1 day a week deliveries. And it is not uncommon for them either not to show when they say they're going to show, or they show up and they deliver part of what you ordered, or sometimes they misbring things to you. And because you're just one order a week, you can't get another delivery. And the warehouses are so short-staffed, you can't get will call orders anymore. On top of that, I am not internally, I'm not trying to bypass this system. I am just simply trying to survive. As you can tell, and as Mr. Reese can attest, I order from my distributors every week. However, if they don't show or they don't bring the stuff right, it's basically good luck. See you next week. So that's why I asked the inspector if he was aware of the exception clause. So obviously that was written before the pandemic and 4 people have that. And there's no way for me to complain. Who am I going to complain to? There's one company that owns Tito's Liquor. What are they going to say to me? Oh, sorry, we'll get to you when you can. There's one company that has the rights to Jameson. I'll get to you when I can. I think, which is more than reasonable, that section B, if a distributor is not able to perform their duties that has been solely given to them by ABCA, and they have the rights to that one product, then I should be able to invoke the exception clause and go get something. And once again, I want to point out again, this is not in my interest. I pay more for that same product through another store plus sales tax. So it's not something I want to do. And there is no way for me to complain to ABCA because ABCA is not going to all of a sudden take a distributorship away from someone just because they don't deliver. So this system has been set up by the agency, and I'm trying to play within the rules. So if you would like to enforce this on all the restaurants and the C's and the R's that are out there, I would suggest that the board call before them all the distributors and make sure that they are able to operate and give the services that the restaurants in the city need. Because I promise you, I'm not the only person having this problem. There's lots of other people doing it because you don't have a choice. Thank you.
Ms. Brown, do you have any questions, ma'am?
I do. Mr. Jablonski, wholesalers were open and operating on June 20th of 2023, weren't they?
Whether or not they're open, they weren't operating because they wouldn't deliver to me. My delivery
Wholesalers
day is 1 day a week.
were
It's not on the
open.
23rd. I don't know if they're open or not. I can tell you they weren't operating for me.
Wholesalers were open and operating on June 21st of 2023.
Are you asking me or telling me, ma'am? I don't
Sir,
know the schedule of the operators.
Is that correct?
I don't know if they were or weren't. What I do know is that I can't get an order from them or delivery from them on that day.
Your establishment chose to order alcohol through Instacart from Costco. Isn't that correct?
Yes, because the distributor was closed to me that day because I could not get product.
And you testified that wholesalers limit you to a 1 day or 1 delivery day per week. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you testified that distributors often misdeliver, unable to deliver. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
But you did not bring your complaint to ABCA about this issue.
I have actually brought the complaint to ABCA about it. I've talked to numerous people about it. I've also talked to your inspector, Mr. Ruiz, newest times over a couple of years about it and explained it to him. And Mr. Ruiz once told me the very first time we talked about it, oh, well, you should just call Jameson and ask him to send it to me, which I laughed at. And I said, do you understand how this system works? And obviously he doesn't because he just
Objection.
told me again no, you asked me a question. I get to answer it.
sir.
You just asked me
Objection.
again.
All right. Mr. Jablonski, okay. Ms. Brown, you asked the question, he answers. Mr. Jablonski, and I'll direct the attorney. Please ask the pointed question. So therefore, you're boxing the witness in how they can answer. Sir, you'll get an opportunity to further explain if you so
Understood.
desire, but please answer the question that has been asked of you, sir. Is there a question?
Mr. Jablonski, you stated on direct that you are not trying to bypass the system,
That's correct.
but you did not contact ABCA's hotline to inquire as to whether you could purchase alcohol from Costco, did you?
I was never notified that I had to. There's nowhere in writing saying I noticed that I have to. No, number one. Number two, I have had conversations with other people in ABCA and your investigators of ABCA that this is a problem now for years since the pandemic started. And no one has ever notified me, including Mr. Ruiz, who I've talked to at least twice about this, that I was required to tell ABCA about this. So I've never seen anything. So no, I have not notified ABCA about this.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, any questions by any board members?
Chairperson,
Mr. Grant?
I'm trying to decide if this is going to be a question or a statement, but either way, I want it to be known that we would like to be here to help in situations where structure is not sufficient for the licensees. And so I'm a bit discouraged to hear that you didn't want to, Mr. Jablonski, to reach out to us about the issues with the current structure. And you've mentioned that there's so many others that are experiencing this. And I think it's really pertinent for us to know what's happening. And so unfortunately, we're here because of the said violation. But I just wish we would have known outside of this hearing that this was happening. So I guess with that, Chairperson, it's more of a statement than a question.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, can I just address that real quick? Just to
Oh.
I swear I'll be as short as I can.
Go
May
ahead,
I?
sir. Go ahead, sir.
So, Commissioner, it wasn't that I didn't want to, but I'm been in business now, owned restaurants in DC for almost 20 years. I know how this system works, and the distributors are given these monopolies. So I didn't think I could actually complain to ABCA because I didn't think ABCA had any control over it, because the distributorships are the distributors and there is no VABC, right? This is in Montgomery County where there's a state-run store. So since you signed over these licensed distributors, I was told that basically you got no other option but you deal with us. So, and to your point, Commissioner, I've talked to 3 different inspectors about this who have come out and inspected me during the pandemic. I have mentioned this numerous times to them, and we've talked about it. Inspector Ruiz admitted that I told him again about it this last time he came in, and he didn't put it in the record in his notes. So I would say maybe I didn't go high enough up the chain in ABCA and, and maybe yell a little louder than I should have. But I would say that there was notice. ABCA had some notice of this issue. It's not like, I'm the only person talking to them about this. I can guarantee that.
Mr. Short.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Jablonski.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
And is this the very first time in your 20 years of being in the alcohol business? Is this your first time ever coming before this board?
First time? No.
No, I'm asking you, is this the first time?
No. I've been before the board before.
To your recollection, how many times have you been before this board in your 20 years?
Well, I was before you guys a couple of months ago about something else, and then maybe twice before that. I don't know.
In your 20 years of being in the alcohol business, have you ever bought from a retailer prior to this time? In your 20 years, have you ever purchased?
What is the, I'm sorry, what is this time?
Please let me finish. Thank you. In your 20 years of being in the ABC business, selling alcohol in the District of Columbia, is this the very first time you've ever bought from Costco's or a retailer?
Yes, I started buying for it during the pandemic when I wasn't able to get deliveries, and it's continued. Only in emergency situations.
Okay. The pandemic started 4 years ago, correct?
That's correct. Started 2020.
Did you ever purchase anything from a retailer prior to the pandemic?
I don't know if I ever did it, but if I did it, it was an extreme emergency situation. It wasn't something that I would ever normally look to do.
So Inspector Ruiz is not the very first investigator that come from Arbor to talk to you about the situation. Is that correct?
I've talked to other investigators about it, but it was only during the pandemic was the only time we've ever had this conversation. I believe the very first time I talked to Inspector Ruiz about it was in 2021.
You get deliveries every week. Is that your testimony?
Hopefully I do.
No. Yeah, this is yes or no.
Sir, I don't control, Commissioner, I don't control the distributors. I put in orders. Doesn't mean I get them.
I'd like to ask you again. Normally, do you get deliveries once a week at your establishment?
Normally, yes. Normally, yes.
During the first 6 months of this year, did you have deliveries once a week?
Not consistently, but as whenever like I said, I put in orders once a week. I don't always get them.
You are the owner and operator of this establishment, correct?
I am.
And you said you had a manager who also orders and receives alcohol for you, correct?
Yes, he uses my account, and sometimes he logs in under me, or sometimes he logs in under him.
So, if it was a mistake made or a violation made, even if your manager did it, who is responsible according to the code?
I would be responsible, but there was no mistake made.
Thank you. That's all I have. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have of this witness. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Jablonski, you are very much familiar because you mentioned 25.113A through E. Is that correct? Because I've been looking at the code myself. So you have so you're familiar with the code. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the code that says that you can only purchase from an A liquor store either a weekend or holiday. So how are you interpreting the code to say because you're not getting the delivery when you want it, to say that that is an exception to the code that should be applicable to you?
For two reasons. Number one, when that code was written, it was under the impression that the distributors had the right and the distributors were going to be doing their job to make sure people got their alcohol as they needed. Number two, under the code where it says a holiday or on a weekend, which a weekend means when they're closed, if a distributor will only deliver to you once a week and they don't bring you the products, in effect, they are closed to me as a business on those other days. And it's not a matter of me wanting to get it, when I want it, or, it's just inconvenient for me. No, this is a matter of me keeping my business open and operating, because I sell alcohol and there are different types of alcohol and people want certain alcohol. And if I don't have that alcohol, those customers get upset and go somewhere else. And the distributors have a monopoly, so they own the rights to individual alcohol. If that distributor decides not to bring it to me, or doesn't have it in stock, or can't put it on the truck that week, or whatever the reason is they want to do it, then they have effectively closed themselves as a vendor to me on the other days. Because you know what my food vendor does if they forget something? They send somebody in a van with it to me. Or they'll buy it on Instacart and have it delivered to me so that I have the product. And they're not even a monopoly. There's 5 different companies I can order bacon from. But there's one company I can order Tito's from. And you'll see on that list there that there's basically 4 types of things that I order: vodka, triple sec, whiskey, and cognac. Those are the 4 most popular things that I sell in my restaurant. There's probably another 15 products that I regularly don't get or get shorted that I just do without. But those 4 products I have to live with. So that's how I translate this, because you, as ABCA, gave a monopoly to distributors that distributors have divvied up amongst themselves. And if I'm supposed to operate with them and they are supposed to be open to me and sell to me when I need it, which, like I said, this isn't like I'm not trying to buy from them. I buy from them every week. I really try to spend money with them, I swear. But if they don't deliver it to me, what am I supposed to do? They've closed their doors to me on those other days, which is in the same effect as it being a holiday.
And so you're saying, because your interpretation of the regulation is that you only have your delivery day is Wednesday, and so because you need a product on Monday, and because your delivery day is Wednesday, then your interpretation of the law is that, well, they're closed on Monday, so therefore I can basically go and purchase on Monday because they're closed. And so therefore I can go purchase on an A store on Monday because the wholesaler
They
is
won't
closed.
deliver to me. They won't deliver to me. But here's the problem, and there's another part past this. The reason why I'm translating it that way is because if you read the rest of that section, there is no requirement for any distributor to have to deliver and do business on every day to a business. They don't have to be open to us Monday through Friday from 9 till 5 p.m. They get to set the terms and their delivery terms and work it out with you however they want. So if they get to open and close to me when they want, then that means that they're closed on the days they don't deliver. And I think that is the only reasonable way to read that statute.
But so you, based on your interpretation, and as you said, you've been in business for 20 years, and it appears from what you're saying that the distributors, they delivery on certain days of the week. So all other similar situated businesses, because the product is not being delivered to them on their scheduled delivery day, they can basically go out and purchase liquor from Class A establishments because these businesses are close to them at that day, and that's on the Monday on their off delivery day. That's your position?
Yes, and the reason why, it's because it's the way the system is set up. If you make me do business with someone and they refuse to do business with me, what am I supposed to do?
Ms. Brown, do you have any questions of the witness based on the questions that the board asked?
I do not.
Mr. Jablonski, you have an opportunity. Normally, if you're an attorney, then this is redirect. So do you need to expound on any statements that you have made before that you didn't get a chance to expound on, sir, during
No,
your testimony?
I think I've expounded enough.
All right. Do you rest, meaning that you have
Yes.
Thank
Rest.
you. All right. So we're going to do closing statements now. I would like the parties to be specific what it is that what's been asked of the board. So you first, Ms. Brown.
The government has proven to the board by preponderance of the evidence that the Ugly Mug has purchased alcohol from a Class A retail liquor store in violation of DC Code, Section 25-113A5A, and that the Ugly Mug owner, Mr. Jablonski, made a false statement during an ABCA investigation in violation of DC Code, Section 25-823A5C. We heard from Investigator Ruiz that on Wednesday, June 21, 2023, he received an incomplete which alleged that the Ugly Mug was ordering liquor through Instacart. That day, Investigator Ruiz visited the establishment and also requested transaction records from Instacart for alcohol orders delivered to the Ugly Mug's address. That same day, he also inspected any alcohol records and receipts that he could get his hands on at the establishment. Finding no receipts, as I said, he reached out to Instacart for those transaction records. The following day, on June 21st of 2023, Investigator Ruiz interviewed Ugly Mug owner, Jana Jablonski. And during that conversation, Mr. Jablonski told Investigator Ruiz that he had not ordered or had alcohol delivered through Instacart. But as the evidence showed, the statement was false and intended to influence, impede, or obstruct the ABCA investigation. The proof is in the pudding. Instacart provided records for all alcohol transactions that were delivered to the Ugly Mug since October of 2021. Based on the Instacart spreadsheet, orders for liquor were regularly made and delivered to the establishment from Class A retail liquor stores, specifically Costco being the predominant retailer. Instacart's records also show that most of the orders were placed on weekdays during hours when wholesalers are open for business. For example, you saw the Instacart spreadsheet showing that alcohol was delivered to the Ugly Mug from Costco on both Tuesday, June 20th and Wednesday, June 21st of 2023. And you heard from Investigator Ruiz that 1, those dates were not holidays, and 2, wholesale retail liquor stores were in fact open on those dates and at those times when those orders were placed. Therefore, the Ugly Mug was not allowed to order alcohol from Class A retail liquor stores on those dates and times. Further, it is clear that the Ugly Mug was aware that it was not allowed to purchase alcohol through Instacart. In fact, as Investigator Ruiz noted, no receipts were retained at the establishment showing those various purchases. And further, based on the spreadsheet, Mr. Jablonski himself or someone who had access to his account who worked for him placed approximately 20 Costco orders, including the order placed just a day or two before Investigator Ruiz went to the establishment and interviewed Mr. Jablonski. Investigator Ruiz explained to us that the Instacart account with user ID and number 642-58116 is in fact owned and operated by Mr. Jablonski because his phone number and his email addresses that are retained also in ABCA records were the same information that were retained by Instacart as associated to that user ID. It is obvious that Mr. Jablonski made a false statement when he told Investigator Ruiz that he had not ordered liquor through Instacart. Further, you heard Mr. Jablonski testify. Although he says he was having difficulties with the alcohol distributors, rather than take up that issue with ABCA, contact the hotline, whatever he needed to do to move legally, he skirted the system and took it upon himself to order liquor from Costco through Instacart. You heard him fail to take responsibility for his establishment's Instacart purchases and also tried to point the finger at his own employees for using his Instacart account. You then heard Mr. Jablonski admit in response to Mr. Short's inquiry that he ordered liquor from Class A distributors. You heard him state that, quote, no mistake was made. Mr. Jablonski clearly thinks he was right for violating the law, and he knew he was violating the law, that his establishment was violating law, and so he misled Investigator Ruiz when he asked him about him violating the law. The district has therefore proven the charges in the notice to show cause, and the district recommends that the board apply a penalty consistent with DC Code 25830. Thank you.
Mr. Jablonski, closing.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, for being here. This is a matter of what I call common sense. Mr. Ruiz and I had numerous conversations, at least two, about the issues the distributors would not deliver to. Mr. Ruiz also admitted that he conveniently left out in his report the fact that after I said, no, I don't, and then I explained why when we have to, and why we have to do sometimes ordering it not from there. The system that has been set up by ABCA to allow distributors to have sole ability over things, and the fact that there is nowhere in any record or on notice that I am supposed to contact ABCA if distributors don't do their job, proves that I am just simply trying to operate a business after a pandemic through a system that was set up by this agency, and that if this agency can't control the distributors and get them to do their job properly, my interpretation of the statute is the only reasonable interpretation there is. On top of that, I never made a false statement. Mr. Ruiz admitted that I said I did not, and then I explained why, if we do, why we do. He conveniently left that out, which frankly is very frustrating, because him and I have had this conversation before and I've explained to him why. And my last point is, if ABCA was really so worried about this, okay, they should take into account a couple things. Number one, as a retailer, when you buy from a Class A, you pay sales tax. So you're getting extra money off of us because we have to pay sales tax when we buy it, plus we pay sales tax when we sell it. So there is no harm done to the government, number one. Number two, I know for a fact that there's been other people that have complained to the ABCA investigators when they've come out and in conversations with other ABCA people that this is happening with the distributors because they're not able to keep up with the demand and they don't have the ability to service as many people as they did pre-pandemic because of all the same challenges that we're having. So I wasn't required to give notice, but I did give notice twice to an investigator who should have gone back and told them that, because that is his job. And then finally, my point is this. How many challenges are you going to throw in the way of a small business owner that's trying to operate within a system that was controlled and set up by somebody else? We have no other options. You either deal with one distributor for that product or you don't get it. We are beholden to whatever they want to do. We have to pay them every month on time or they don't deliver. But guess what? They don't have to deliver when they don't want to. This system has been set up so that it's incredibly unfair, unjust, and frankly, almost unconstitutional. I can't operate my business without certain products. Everybody knows that. One distributor has the right to it, and he can decide, or she can decide, or they can decide when, how, and what they're going to send. And there's no repercussions if they don't, besides me calling and complaining. Or my other option is to try to go to another distributor and find another product that's like it, but then I end up losing customers because there are certain people that like certain things, and therefore I need to bring them to them. So there is no way that any reasonable person can look at me and say, I was trying to intentionally defraud and break the statute. I was trying to violate the law. I'm simply trying to run a business. And that's all I'm trying to do. And it's not in my best interest to order from a Class A. I don't want to do it. But then again, I can't force Republic National to bring me Jameson on Tuesdays. I can't force Breakthrough to bring me Tito's on a Monday. I can't even get my Miller Lite distributor to deliver to me unless there's now like a $500 minimum. What do I do when I need one keg? You know what I do? I just go without. Who is that really helping? It's not helping the city because that's less tax revenue for us. All right. It's not helping the distributors because they can't sell it. And ultimately, we have enough challenges in the city going on. I don't need another challenge of this. So I'm not trying to break the law. I'm not trying to do anything that's mischievous. And I told the inspector of what's going on, and he admitted that he just conveniently left it out. So I didn't make a false statement. I made an explanation that he picked a phrase from. So I asked the board to use common sense and please use your ability and your leverage to investigate these distributors and ask them, why are they doing this? Because nobody else can tell them anything because they can do whatever they want. Because if you want something and they have it, too bad, so sad if they don't do anything. Thank you for your time. I asked the board to find that both of these violations were not happening and that the only reason why I was buying from a Class A license is because I had to, because of the system that was created by ABCA to create distributors that have the ability to control how, when, and what they deliver to a Class C license. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The record is now closed. Do the parties wish to?
Chairperson Anderson, the district would like to make a rebuttal.
What's the purpose? Yeah, okay, who is the rebuttal, ma'am? You're calling a rebuttal witness or you're making a rebuttal statement? Which one is it?
No, a rebuttal statement.
Okay, I mean, you should have told me at the beginning that you want to reserve the right, but go ahead, ma'am, since the district has the
My
burden.
apologies. Okay, just briefly. Members of the board, the establishment implores us to use common sense, but then asks us to use logic that is completely contrary to that request.
Everyone knows that when an establishment is closed, that means the doors are locked, no purchases can be made, business is not open. What Mr. Jablonski wants to say is that if he is not assigned to that day, doesn't matter what the ABCA regulations say, the business is, quote, closed to him. He also says, well, we don't purchase from Class A retailers, but if we did, here's my excuse for doing so. And then at the end of his closing, yet again, admitted that he in fact ordered from Class A distributors. Members of the board, this case is essentially open and shut. You've heard admission after admission after admission. At this point, there is no way to land in this case other than finding in the district's favor and finding that these violations occurred. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, as stated before, the file, the record is now closed. Do the parties wish to file proposed findings of fact and conclusion of law, or waive their right to do so?
I have one question.
Yes,
So
sir.
was I able to ask for a rebuttal at the beginning and not allowed?
No, sir, because the burden is on the district. So
Okay.
because they have the burden to prove that you committed the violation, they have that right to. Normally, the government will reserve to respond, but that's why I'd mention it. That's why I'd mention, sir. But they can get two bites of the apple because they have the burden. They have to prove that you committed the violation. You didn't have to say anything. You didn't have to present a case. Because if they could, because the burden is on them to prove that you committed the violation that you're charged with, sir. Okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. All right. All right. The board will issue a decision within 90 days. So give me a minute, please. All right. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board for the District of Columbia, and in accordance with DC Code Section 2575 of the Open Meeting Act, I move that ABC Board hold a closed meeting for the purpose of seeking legal advice from our counsel on case number 23 CMP 00052, the Ugly Mug Dining Saloon, pursuant to DC Code Section 2575B4A of the Open Meetings Act, and deliberating upon case number 23 CMP 00052, the Ugly Mug Dining Saloon, for the reasons cited in DC Official Code Section 257B13 of the Open Meetings Act. Is there a second?
I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. I will now take a roll call vote on the motion before us. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. As it appears that the motion has passed 3-0, I hereby give notice that the ABC Board will recess this proceeding to hold a closed meeting pursuant to Section 2575 of the Open Meetings Act. Thank you very much for your presentation. The board will issue a decision within 90 days. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next case on our calendar is case number 23 CC 00009. Heights Liquor, license number 118369. This case has been continued to December 6th at 10:30 a.m. Before I call the next case, let me call our afternoon case. A protest hearing. We have a protest hearing case number 22 PRO 000054. El Canale, license number 83707. This case has been rescheduled to January 10th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. So now let's call the last case on our calendar for the day, which is a summary suspension hearing case number 23 CC 00009. Crew Lounge, license number 122943. Mr. Oriana, can you please elevate the rights of the licensee and the government in this case, please?
Sure. Sean Morris, your access has been elevated. Anthony Cello, your access has been elevated. And that appears to be all, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do believe that co-counsel also needs to have his rights elevated.
And who is that, sir? Who is the person waiting? Mr. Okay, Mr. Brown. Okay,
He will be taking lead today.
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, let me have the parties identify themselves, starting with the government. And so let's have Mr. Hold on 1 minute, please. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure that we need that all 3 board members are here. And if you know, 3 board members is a quorum, so I have to make sure that there are always 3 board members visible. All right, let's have the parties introduce themselves for the record, starting with you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, good afternoon. Assistant Attorney General Matthew Brown, representing the district.
Spell your name for the record, sir, please.
Matthew Brown, MATTHEWBROWN.
Thank you. Mr. Cello, can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Assistant Attorney General Anthony Cello, ANTHONYCELO, on behalf of the district. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon. And Mr. Morris, please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. This is Sean Morris, spelled S-E-A-N, last name Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S, here on behalf of the licensee.
Good afternoon, sir. All right, this is a summary suspension hearing. And so are there any preliminary matters before we start, Mr. Brown?
No, I do not believe so, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right. Meaning that I see no witnesses here, so therefore there have to be a preliminary matter because I see no witnesses here, so we're having a formal hearing.
Yes.
And I see all right, so so when I ask, are there any preliminary matters, then the government needs to tell me the status of the case, sir.
Right. Apologies. I thought we were talking about something prior to that.
No.
The government has submitted an OIC for the board's approval.
And I'm not trying to call you out, Mr. Brown, because you have not appeared before me before. So when I say that, are there any preliminary matters? If there's a preliminary matter, then you can say to me that there is an offer in compromise that you would like to share with the board, sir. Okay, so okay. I'm not trying to call you out, but so when I ask the question and I don't see any witnesses, then that tells me there's something that I'm not aware of. All right, so you've stated that there is a preliminary matter because there's an offer in compromise, and so if there's an offer in compromise, sir, I need you to place the offer in compromise in the record, And so once you place what the offer in compromise in the record, and unfortunately, to place it on the record, you have to read the offer in compromise in the record. So the court reporter will have it, will capture that. And I will ask Mr. Morris if this is his understanding of the offer in compromise. If the board members have questions, they can ask about the offer in compromise, and then the board will either vote here on the record, or the board will take a break and come back and give you a decision. So, so you have to place the offer in compromise in the record by reading through all the terms. So just give us an overview of why we're here today. And then if there, as you stated, there's an offer in compromise, then you state what the offer in compromise is.
Okay. Yes. So as the board knows, on the night of September 23rd, 2023, 4 people were shot inside the establishment, or inside respondents' establishment, and 1 individual unfortunately passed away. In light of the summary suspension issued by the board, there was the charges of establishment used for an unlawful purpose. The respondent also relied on a company not licensed in DC, and relied on a security company not licensed in DC, and violated a settlement agreement by not having an ABCA manager on duty. And the last charge was failing to cooperate with authorities during an investigation. So based on those charges, the counsel from respondent came forward to the district. We were able to walk through the settlement negotiations and ended up with this agreement between the parties. I'm happy to start reading that if the board is ready.
Sure, you can do that. And at the same time, if you have it, you could also share your screen with us so we could follow along if you want to do that.
Yes, let me.
So if you want to do that, then I can have our IT specialist give you the ability to share your screen.
Okay.
Access has been granted.
Thank you, sir. So if you're when you're ready, you can share your screen by sharing the report.
Thank you.
All right, sir. You're sharing your screen. So what is the offer in compromise?
Okay. Offer compromise for board approval. The District of Columbia jointly with the licensee respondent submits this offer in compromise OIC to the Alcohol, Beverage, and Cannabis Board as authorized by 23 DCMR Section 1610 for approval by the board. The parties understand that if the board approves the OIC, the case will conclude. Respondent will be obligated to abide by the terms of the OIC shown below. If the board does not approve of the OIC, litigation of the summary suspension will continue. Respondent has been advised that there is no obligation to accept an OIC. Respondent has been advised through service of notice of summary suspension that any summary suspension hearing or other proceeding, respondent may be represented by legal counsel, have subpoenas issued to require production of witnesses and evidence, produce witnesses and evidence, cross-examine witnesses, and apply to the board for a qualified interpreter. The OIC terms are as follows. Revised security plan. Respondent shall submit an updated security plan to ABCA and the Office of the Attorney General by 5 p.m. on November 10th, 2023. Obviously, this date has passed, and only respondent is prejudiced by this. So whenever they're able to get the security plan in, they will be up for ABCA's approval. And at that point, we can move forward. But I just want to make that note. The board shall review and deem acceptable the revised security plan before lifting the summary suspension of the respondent's ABC license. If the board does not consider the revised security plan acceptable, the suspension shall not be lifted, and the security plan shall comply with all applicable requirements under DC Code Title 25 and corresponding regulations, including DCMR Chapter 23. The revised security plan shall include: A, respondent shall utilize the District of Columbia licensed security company to provide security personnel for crowd control, conflict resolution, and emergency response services. All patrons shall be subject to the security measures of Section 1B upon each entry, regardless of whether the patron was previously checked by security. Respondent shall hire additional security as needed to wand and search female patrons. Establish procedures for handling violent incidents, emergencies, contacting the Metropolitan Police Department, crowd control, overcrowding prevention, security personnel locations, number of security cameras, preventing intoxication, and preventing injury of service and preventing entry of and service to underage patrons. All employees must pass a criminal background check before starting employment. Respondents shall utilize at least 3 security personnel from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. on Monday through Thursday. At least 3 security personnel 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Fridays through Sundays, and at least 5 security personnel from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. on Friday through Sunday when the establishment is operating. All security personnel shall be equipped with portable two-way communication systems. All security personnel shall be equipped with portable two-way communication systems and flashlights to maintain constant awareness of incidents. Security personnel shall check photo identification with digital scanners for all patrons at the door from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. when the establishment is operating, and shall not permit entry to anyone presenting counterfeit identification or failing to present identification. Staff shall not serve alcoholic beverages to any patron who is or appears to be intoxicated. Respondent shall preserve all crime scenes and scenes of any violent incidents, and all staff and security must remain on the scene after a crime or violent incident until interviewed by MPD or ABCA and excused. All staff must provide accurate information during investigations to MPD and ABCA, and personnel who knowingly obstruct an official investigation shall be immediately terminated. Respondents shall utilize the reimbursable detail officer program at least on weekends and holidays from 11:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. when the establishment is operating. Respondents shall submit to ABCA before reopening a diagram showing the location of all security cameras for the establishment. Respondents shall install additional high-definition CCTV cameras covering all crucial areas inside and outside the establishment, which the staff shall regularly monitor, including at least 1 camera viewing the front entrance of the establishment that is never obstructed by tents, other structures, or otherwise when the establishment is operating. All security cameras shall be kept in working order when the establishment is operating. Respondent shall maintain all security footage for at least 30 days. Respondent must maintain on the licensed premises a written incident log detailing all crimes and other violent incidents that occur at the establishment. The licensee shall make the incident log available to the ABCA investigators and MPD immediately upon request. Respondents shall implement training and certification on how to identify and handle intoxicated patrons, de-escalation of threats and violence, conflict resolution, maintaining order, emergency protocols, first aid, CPR, and on reporting incidents of violence or injury to the ABC board approved manager, security supervisor, and other appropriate authority. Retraining on each of those issues shall be conducted quarterly for all staff and security personnel, and new staff and security personnel shall be trained on the security plan in each of those issues within 14 days of hire. Security personnel shall properly separate and remove patrons who initiate or participate in a violent altercation. If more than one patron is involved, adverse patrons shall be separated, and care shall be taken so the parties are not expelled at the same time through the same exits or any other matter not designed to minimize further confrontation. All staff and security shall be trained on the revised security plan before the board's reinstates of respondents' ABC license. Each member of the staff and security team shall certify by signature that they have completed the revised security plan training. Signed certification shall be maintained by respondent and shall be provided to ABCA within 24 hours of a record request. Security personnel shall wear a uniform with the word staff or security for easy identification. Security personnel shall maintain order throughout the establishment, including the outside entrance, stairwell, and first and second floor interior. Respondents shall actively communicate with the local community, neighborhood organizations, MPD, and ABCA to share information about potential safety issues. Security cameras. Before the board lifts the suspension of respondent's ABC license, respondents shall ensure that all security cameras are in working order and the footage from all the cameras can be saved and maintained for at least 30 days. Fine. Before the board lifts the suspension of the ABC license, respondents shall pay fines of $4,700, including $2,000 for fines for using the establishment for an unlawful or disorderly purpose under DC Code Section 25-823A2, a $350 fine for failure to have an ABC manager on duty under DC Code Section 25-823A3, a $2,000 fine for interfering with an ongoing investigation under DC Code Section 25823A5C, and a $350 fine for violation of settlement agreement under DC Code Section 25823A6. For compliance walkthrough, before the board lists the suspension of respondents' ABC's license, an ABCA investigator shall conduct a walkthrough of the licensed establishment with respondent to ensure the compliance with the OIC requirements. The ABC license suspension shall be lifted as soon as all applicable OIC requirements are satisfied.
Mr. Brown, I believe that you miss B in the OIC.
B. Oh yes. Upon entry, all patrons of all genders shall be subject to search by metal detecting wands, physical examination of all bags and purses, and pat down searches based on wanding results.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. You can close your screen, sir. Mr. Morris, it's my understanding that there is an offer in compromise, and Mr. Brown placed the offer in compromise on the record. Is this your understanding of the offer in compromise, sir?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair, with the only exception being the non-substantive issue of when the revised security plan should be submitted. When the offer in compromise was presented, the suggested date was November 10th. Obviously, that hadn't gone to the board for approval by November 10th. So I believe Assistant Attorney General Brown mentioned that date could be extended, provided that the summary suspension remain in place until any security plan is submitted. I don't know if the board, I'll leave this to the board's prerogative, whether you would like to amend that date for the record, or you're satisfied that provided the summary suspension remain in place until this plan is submitted and approved by the board, if that's sufficient.
I think the summer suspension remain in place until all the terms, as I forget what provision of the OIC, it states that the suspension will not be lifted until all the terms are complied with. So it's incumbent upon your client to provide the security plan to us as soon as possible, if they
Certainly.
wish to open as soon to be reopened. Okay, so I'm fine with that. Sir, is your client aware that by accepting an offer in compromise that they're giving up their right to a hearing?
Yes, they are.
Is your client also aware that by accepting an offer in compromise, that they're giving up their right to appeal this matter?
Yes, they are.
All right, fine. Mr. Brown, why should is this within the best interest of the residents of the District of Columbia that the board should look at this offer in compromise positively, sir?
Yes, I believe the offer in compromise is comprehensive. When we review the incident that occurred on September 23rd and some of the security and safety concerns, I believe the offer in compromise addresses those issues and would yield a safer environment for the citizens of the district.
All right, thank you. All right, any questions by any board members of any provision? Any questions on any provision of the offer in compromise? As I stated before, as I've stated, the board cannot change the offer in compromise. We cannot negotiate with the parties. It's an up or down vote for the board. So if you have any questions, you can, whatever questions you have of the government or the applicant, go ahead, Mr. Short.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say to Assistant Attorney Brown and Mr. Cello, this offer on compromise is as the word we used earlier, it's quite appropriate in light of what happened inside of this establishment, 4 people being shot. And I think it should be a model that we use for coming offers of compromise. And I as a board member, and I hope I'm speaking for most of the board here, that we appreciate the attention that was given, attention to detail that was given in this offer of compromise. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the Assistant Attorney General's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any other questions by any other board members? All right. I don't have any questions. Prior to bringing this matter to a vote, any final comments by either the government or the applicant, the licensee?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. We are grateful for the courtesy and cooperation of the Office of the Attorney General and Mr. Brown and Mr. Cello in resolving this matter. And I know the applicants and licensees are looking forward to putting this matter behind them and implementing the items in the Office in compromise to create a safer environment for their patrons and their community.
Well, thank you. Normally at this, yes, Mr. Brown.
I apologize. I do have a question to Mr. Brown or Mr. Cello. With respect to the amount for the fine, the financial punitive damage that they incur with this particular case, do you believe that this is a fine that is relatively stiff in comparison to what we've seen in other scenarios that are similar to this one?
It appears that based on history, this fine is on the upper end of violations and what the board has given in the past. I think that this fine, in addition to the business also being closed for quite some time at this point, has created a compound, I guess, punishment as well for what happened. So, we believe that this is sufficient on our end.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. All right. I make a motion that the offer in compromises should be accepted. Mr. Brown had listed the terms of the offer in compromise. Normally I myself would read the offer in compromise, the terms in the record, but the record will reflect based on a reading of the transcript what the specific terms of the offer in compromise is. And as per the offer in compromise, the board would not lift, if the board accept this offer in compromise, the suspension will remain in place until the terms of the OIC have been complied with. So therefore, with that said, I make a motion that the offer in compromise be accepted. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. I will now take a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. I would like to thank the parties for coming to an agreement that, as represented by the government, is in the best interest of the residents of the District of Columbia. So thank you very much, and have a great day. All right then, bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, bye-bye. We're now at the end of our calendar for the day, and we're also, so let me now do our agenda items for the day. The first agenda item that we will address today, it's our legal agenda. The first matter on our legal agenda is a review of an offer in compromise in lieu of a hearing dated November 15th, 2022 for case number 23 CMP 00058, Tokyo Pearl. The terms of the offer in compromise are as follows. For charge 1, increase interior occupancy without approval, statutory authority, DC Code Section 25762B1. There shall be a $2,000 fine payable within 30 days, or the license shall be suspended indefinitely until the fine has been paid. For charge number 2, failed to follow security agreement by exceeding interior occupancy, statutory authority, DC Code Section 25823A6. This charge has been dismissed. I therefore make a motion that the offer in compromise be accepted. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 2, review of a settlement agreement dated November 12, 2023, by and between Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3E and East West Cafe, license number 126587. I make a motion that this settlement agreement be accepted. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 3, review of a request to reinstate canceled license dated November 14th, 2023. License was canceled by board order number 2023-601 on November 8th, 2023. This is for Entice Lounge license number 117477. I make a motion that the board approves this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 4, review of protestants J.P. Morgan's motion for continuance dated November 9th, 2023 in case number 23 PRO 00078. Caroline, license number 116082. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 5, review of applicants' opposition to protestants J.P. Morgan motion for continuance dated November 14th, 2023 in case number 23 PRO 00078. Caroline, license number 116082. This matter is now moot. Number 6, review of the chief police request for a fact-finding hearing dated October 29th, 2023 in case number 23 PRO 00028. Nelly's Restaurant and Sports Bar, license number 075240. I make a motion that we have a fact-finding hearing. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 7, review of correspondence from Council Member Charles Allen, Ward 6, dated November 13th, 2023, regarding Harris Teeter, formerly located at 1391 Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast. This is just an FYI for the board. Number 8, review of correspondence from Advisory Neighborhood Commission 2B, dated November 14th, 2023, regarding the 17th Street High Heel Race 2023. This is also an FYI for the board. And number 9, review of correspondence from Aslin Beer Company, dated November 13th, 2023, regarding its interpretation of compliance with the amended and restated settlement agreement. This is also an FYI for the board. We now move to our licensing agenda. The first matter on our licensing agenda is review application for safekeeping of license. This is for Walmart license number 092202. I make a motion that we approve this request through March 31st, 2024. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. Would now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 2, review application to add dancing and cover charge to the existing entertainment endorsement. This is for Posh Lounge, license number 123209. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 3, review application for change of hours to extend hours of operation for food sales only inside the premises. This is for Moi Moi Restaurant, license number 120466. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 4, review application for change of hours to expand hours of operation, sales, and service. This is for Lunes de Buenos Aires hyphen Argentinian street food, license number 119215. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 5, review request for approval to provide a gift of a keg can nitrin cartridge and cleaning tables that does not exceed $500 in value to various licensed retail establishments. This is for Breakthrough Beverage, license number 124554. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passes 3-0. We now move to our supplemental licensing agenda. On the supplemental licensing agenda for November 15th, 2023, there are 6 items on the supplemental agenda, the supplemental licensing agenda. I therefore move that ABC Board approve all 6 items on the supplemental licensing agenda. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. We now move to the cancellation agenda for retail tavern nightclubs for November 15th, 2023. On this agenda, there are 6 items to cancel these. There are 6 licensees to cancel these licenses. I therefore make a motion that the ABC Board cancel all 6 licenses on the cancellation agenda. retail tavern nightclubs for November 15th, 2023. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. We now move to the cancellation agenda, Class B license for November 15th, 2023. On this agenda, there are 20 licensees, and so therefore I make a motion that the ABC board cancel the licenses for the 20 establishments listed on the cancellation agenda for Class B license for November 15th, 2023. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. We now move to the agency rescinding prior approval of 405.1 status agenda for November 15th, 2023. On this agenda, there are 5 licensees. I therefore make a motion that the ABC board cancel the licenses on this agenda. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. We now move to the vacate cease and desist orders agenda for November 15th, 2023. On this agenda, there are 5 licensees. I therefore make a motion that the ABC approves this agenda to vacate the cease and desist orders previously granted. Approve. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passes 3-0. We now move to our medical cannabis licensing agenda. The first matter on our medical cannabis agenda is a review of the social equity application for conditional cultivation center license. More Than One Way LLC license number 126452. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 2, review of social equity application for conditional manufacturer license. This is More Than One Way LLC, license number 126453. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 3, review of social equity application for conditional cultivation center license. This is for Relva, license number 126707. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 4, review of social equity application for conditional manufacturer license for Relva, license number 126706. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 5, review of social equity application for conditional manufacturer license. This is for AR Logistics LLC, license number 126855. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 6, review of standard application for conditional cultivation center license. This is for Bloomingdale Organic LLC, license number 126760. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Ennis, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 7, review of social equity application for conditional courier license. This is for Louis Joe Inc., license number 126798. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. 3-0. We now move to number 8. Review of social equity application for new retailer license with delivery endorsement. This is for Cloud9, license number 126845. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 9, review of social equity application for new retailer license with delivery and endorsement. This is for Up Smoke Third LLC, license number 126868. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passes 3-0. Number 10, review of standard license application for a new retailer license with delivery and endorsement. This is for DC Dash, license number 126750. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Number 11, review of standard application for new retailer license with delivery endorsement. This is for DC Smoke, license number 126787. I make a motion that we placard this matter. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passes 3-0. We move now to our we now move to the board temporary one-day and substantial change docket. The first request applicant is a request from, I'm going to review all the names. I will state the name, the type of license that's been requested, the date of the event, the license number, and the attendees. And at the end of the list, I'm going to make a motion that the ABC board approve the granting of these licenses. So the first license request is a request from Tilario, Tilario Best. This is for one-day license class G. This is for the family and friends fall gathering. This is on November 18th. The license number is 126843, 75 attendees, 4 security guards. Number 2 is a request from Regmo Promo Holdings Inc. It's a pub crawl. I'm asking that we approve 1,000 participants. This is the hip hop bar crawl. This is on January 14th, 2024. The license number is 104072. The substantial change license is 23 PCE 00026. Number 3 is a request from Regmo Pro Holdings. This is for another pub crawl. I'm asking for the board to approve 1,000 participants. This is the Thinker Huge Drinker Bar Crawl. This is on May 4th, 2024. The license number is 104072. The substantial change license is 23 PCE 00032. Number 4, it's another request from Regmo Promo Holdings. This is for pub crawl I'm asking that we approve 1,000 participants. This is for the Caribbean Bar Crawl. This is on May 25th. This is from May 25th. The license number is 104072. I therefore make a motion that the ABC board approve the licensees on this one-day substantial change and recommendation of the chair. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant is second. The motion will now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. Hold on, please. The last agenda item we have today is the board's licensing and administrative docket. On the board licensing and administrative docket for November 15th, there are, on this docket, there are 23 applicants. And so therefore, I'm going to make a motion that the ABC board approve to grant all the changes made to the licenses on the board's licensing administrative docket for November 15th. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant,
Mr. Grant, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passes 3-0. The board will take will go on recess briefly. I'm going to ask all board members to return to executive session. So we're in recess. We're going to pause the public session. I'm asking all board members to return to executive session, and we'll be back to the public session shortly. Thank you. All right, we're back on the record. And we have one more agenda item. And the agenda item that we have today's notice of second supplemental licensing agenda. There's one matter on the second supplemental licensing agenda for November 15th, 2023. And that item is review application for stipulated license with letter of ANC support for a new ABC license. It's Equinox on 14th, license number 126242. I make a motion that the board approves this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Grant, I second the motion.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short. I can't hear you, Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 3-0. We're now at the end of our agenda items and our calendar for the day. And if there's no further business, let me close the record for the day. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board for the District of Columbia, and in accordance with Title III, Chapter 405, Office of Open Government, I move that ABC Board hold a closed meeting on December 6, 2023, for the purpose of discussing and hearing reports concerning ongoing or planned investigations of alleged criminal or civil misconduct or violations of law or regulations, and seeking legal advice from our legal counsel on the board's investigative agenda, legal agenda, and licensing agenda for December 6, 2023, as published in the DC Register on December 1st, 2023. Is there a second?
I second the motion, Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant has seconded the motion. I will now take a roll call vote on the motion before it's now has been properly seconded. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. As it appears that the motion has passed 3-0, I hereby give notice that the ABC Board will hold this closed meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. Notice will also be posted on the ABC Board Hearing Room Bulletin Board, placed on the electronic calendar on ABCA's website, and published in the DC Register in as timely a manner as practical. We are now adjourned for the day. I would like to thank the members of the public who participated in our hearings today, and also would like to thank our ABC board members who have participated. If there's no further business, we are now adjourned for the day. I now direct all board members to return to executive session for further development. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.